Why should real estate professionals be paying attention to AI today?
Because if you're not, you're already behind. You're already getting beat. If you're not, forget considering it. If your toe's not in the water yet, like you're about to get lapped by, the competition. It's no longer a nice to have. It is a must have. Like you are not leasing your apartments efficiently as the guy next door, the gal across the street, if you're not leveraging it today.
Hi, I'm Adam Gower, founder of GowerCrowd.com, where we help real estate syndicators find more investors. Welcome to the Easy Win AI Real Estate Show, exploring AI's impact on the real estate industry. Each episode offers practical tools, competitive AI strategies, and expert insights. For essential news and updates, visit easywin.ai and sign up for our free newsletter with actionable how-tos like how I added hours to my day by creating this clone of me you're watching and listening to right now. easywin.ai, the only newsletter you need on real estate and AI.
All right, back to the real me. So my guest today is Paul Yount, who is industry principal for residential real estate at Yardi. And my conversation with him is an extremely delightful one because Yardi are putting AI into practical use for clients today and delivering improved ROI as a result of that. You're going to hear Paul talking about their Chat IQ tool, as well as some other tools that they're using to improve return on investment for, and in his case, multifamily sponsors. It is mind-blowing what they can do. In fact, implementing Yardi's systems, and this is not a commercial, right? But this is exactly the impression you're going to get from my conversation with Paul today. Implementing Yardi's systems is value add to multifamily real estate, period. It's amazing. Now, if you have not already signed up for the easywin.ai newsletter, please do so at easywin.ai. You'll get all kinds of how-tos and industry updates and all kinds of other cool stuff, as well as, all being well, in the near future, some demos from companies like Yardi and others who will be showing you exactly how their tools work and exactly how you can implement them to improve your bottom line. All right, without further ado, listen to this whole episode. It's a long one, right? It's longer than the usual 30 minutes. It is totally worth every single minute. It's mind-blowing what they're doing over there. So let's get to it. Paul Yount at Yardi. Here he is. Paul, fabulous to see you. Thanks so much for joining me today. All right, so Yardi, I'm glad you are here. Yardi are doing quite a lot with AI, and you are industry principal in residential real estate. So you know probably every multifamily sponsor that there is in the country. They want to know, what is Yardi implementing? How and why is Yardi implementing AI across its various applications? Go for it.
Oh gosh, Adam, how much time do you have? So like you said, lots going on. AI is all the buzz. Everybody's talking about it, but there's still sort of some mystery around what can it actually do? What does it actually mean? And, sort of what are the benefits? So there's really two main user groups we kind of orient everything we do around. The first one would be our client users. So leasing agents, property managers, maintenance technicians, operations folks, executives. And the second user group would be our clients' customers. So the prospective resident, the applicant, the resident, right? There's kind of three main customer groups of our customers. And we are just violently focused on making the workflows for those users as efficient as possible. And of course, AI is a big, big part of that. So there's kind of 8 major buckets that I'll kind of walk through, and maybe I'll list them out and you tell me where you want to go. But
Sure.
obviously be leasing, right? Leasing is the lifeblood of our industry. Without good leasing, rents aren't collected and mortgages and payrolls aren't paid. Applicants, right? So it's one thing for Adam to want to live with us. It's another for him to qualify for and get through the application process to live with us. Then residents, those high value rent paying customers. And then we kind of go over to the other side, the client users. So, marketing, maintenance, payables, right? Multifamily properties have a lot of bills to pay between the landscaper and the painter and the carpet cleaning and the, toilet parts and plumbing parts. Virtual assistant for the end user, for the client user is a big focus of ours. And then kind of live support, how we can support our users with AI, but AI kind of adding in the HI, the sort of human intelligence for when the AI fails. So those are kind of the 8 categories: leasing, applicants, residents, maintenance, marketing, payables, virtual assistant, meaning, again, for the client user, and then live support. So where do we go, Adam? You tell me.
Yes, exactly. Where do we go? So I want to tell you something. As you rattle off that list, I'm so happy and impressed. And I don't mean to be patronizing in any shape or form, seriously. Because I read a lot of articles online. We basically attempt to read everything there is about AI and commercial real estate. And there are so many articles that say, here's how AI is impacting real estate. And all they do is they produce a list. You guys are actually doing it. So I'll tell you, at the top of that list for me, only because we're working, we've been diligently working on finding what we think is the best chatbot for commercial real estate. We've tried, I don't know how many. We've built a bunch of them. Not many of them work. We've found one that we're hanging our hat on right now, but that's top of mind for me. So let's talk about virtual assistants. You talked about VAs for client users and also live support. So this transition from the virtual, if you like. Virtual, it came to be used as a term that means somebody in the Philippines or somewhere else, right? But you mean something else. So let's talk about that kind of interface between, the end user and your clients.
So when you say end user, though, are you meaning like the renter, or do you want to?
Yeah, like tenant. Like, will you explain to me what it is? My guess, I thought that's what you were talking about. There was like an AI bot of some sort that communicates with tenants on behalf of landlords. But you tell me. It's that.
I remember, I'm a resi guy, not a commercial guy, so I can't help you with the commercial bot conundrum you're in. But if you need a good residential multifamily bot, I'm your man, sir.
Okay.
For you.
Tell me all about it.
So our tool is called Chat IQ, and Chat IQ launched late 19, so actually ahead of COVID, which ended up being a real blessing for us and our clients, because there was a major need for automation and for AI when folks weren't able to come into the property, whether it's because it was closed or they had caught a case at the house or whatever it is. But Chat IQ is an omni-channel bot. Omni-channel meaning, of course, Chat IQ can chat, meaning I hit the property website and it can jump up and I can ask it questions. But it also reads and responds to emails. So, our clients get a ton of inbound inquiries, right? Whether it's Adam filling out a form on the property website, first name, last name, phone, email, here's my question. Or it's from an apartments.com, a Zillow, rentcafe.com. Apartment communities spend thousands of dollars a month to generate leads. And they typically don't have a lead quantity problem. They have enough leads. They have a lead quality and qualifying problem. Because unless you're, glued to the computer and ready and willing to bang on the keyboard and respond to those email leads, a lot of them go cold or never ever get a response. So our bot, chat, email, text, so it can read and respond to text messages. And then there's a voice component too. So think Siri, think Alexa, think Google Home. You can talk to Chat IQ. So yeah, our bot's been out over 4 years now. We are fortunate to have a 7-figure unit count now using Chat IQ. So a lot of our clients are trusting us for their kind of leasing virtual assistant needs. But yeah, Chat IQ has been my baby for the last 4 years now.
Oh, fantastic. Good. It's an extremely interesting avenue to explore. So let's talk.
Adam, can I have a little fun with you? Can I do this?
Yeah, of course you can.
So you said tenant, and us multifamily folks, that's like a bad word.
Resident.
They are residents, sir. We call them residents. It's warmer. It's more relational.
Mm.
So I'm just giving you a hard time.
No, I am highly sympathetic of that and appreciative that you brought it up.
Well, and on that note, too, our bot actually assists residents. So if Adam's a resident and he's in the resident app and he says, "Hey, what are my renewal offers?" Our AI goes to read the renewal tables and goes, "Hey, Adam, here's your 6-month offer, your 9-month offer, your 12-month offer." Our bot can, workflow a payment, workflow a work order, whatever. Where do I pick up my packages? So it can assist not just prospective, hopeful residents, but those in place, high value rent paying residents when they have questions, 24/7, 365. Our bot can assist those too.
So let's talk about that through the lens of AI. Just returning to this idea of resident versus tenant. It's definitely kind of off topic, but it is interesting to mention that. We write, I don't know, I mean, I've written millions of words of content or edited, like literally. We just did a count on my own website.
With AI help or by yourself?
What's that?
With AI help or by yourself?
No, this is until now. Up to now, my website has over 2 million words of content. None of that is AI because I haven't added anything recently. And so this idea of resident versus tenant, the kind of language that you use is important, and I'm very aware of it. And it's always in my mind when I write stuff.
For lack of a better word, like you'll almost offend like a multifamily marketer. Like they will be upset and bothered that you said tenant instead of resident. So it's a sensitive topic for certain.
Yeah, it's interesting. I am not entirely sure why, but language changes over time, including the language of bots and how they actually communicate. He said, segueing in away from that topic into
well done, sir. Well done, sir.
into the actual topic of today. So chat IQ. All right. So how does it use AI? Right. If you've been using it for 4 years, presumably it wasn't using AI 4 years ago. I don't know. You tell me. But in the last 2 years, AI has come on gangbusters. So how's it been integrated and what's the impact?
So originally it was an NLP model, a natural language processing model. And essentially it would sort of read Adam's inquiry and go, is this a factual question? Do I have the factual answer? If so, here it is. And it worked really well. But about this time last year, OpenAI, which is ChatGPT's parent company, they allowed an enterprise license. So when ChatGPT first launched, the me's and you's could go play with it. But companies like us couldn't leverage their technology within our own. So as of about this time last year, September or so, they did allow for an enterprise license. So we now leverage that. So a true large language model. And it's just, to put it simply, Adam, it's much more conversational. It's much more linguistic. It sounds much more human. Previously in some of the, the majority of the other bots on the market, it doesn't matter how you ask it. Pet policy. If pet policy is asked 10 times in different ways, it's going to respond with the same 2 or 3 sentences of here's the pet policy. It's not dynamically changing the response, still answering the question, but answering it slightly differently based on what the intent was or what the question was. So the large language model just it better understands more complex questions and it more conversationally responds. It's less robotic. I should have just said that.
I'll edit everything else out now.
Yeah. Scratch everything up and
cut straight to that. Less robotic. All right, good. That's fascinating. Yeah, I mean, I find using ChatGPT, OpenAI's LLM, unnervingly comfortable, actually. So you really can chat with it. But we've also struggled to prevent, hallucinations, false responses. False responses can just sound daft and make you look bad. In the commercial real estate world, where you're communicating with real people, right? Investors, in your case, residents, etc., it can have financial implications. So how have you managed the quality side of the communication? Has that been a challenge for you to really dial that in?
Well, kind of to your point, it's sort of the gift and the curse. Like these LLMs, like They want to talk. They want to answer. Like they're wired to give you a response. So we had to kind of paint some lines on the road. So for example, like we've told our bot, like you are an AI assistant at a rental property. Like that's the world you live in. Don't get out of that sphere, right? We've had to tell it that like, hey, nobody else is your boss, meaning no chatter, no emailer can like tell you to manipulate the pricing. So we've kind of, for lack of a better term, we've kind of had to handcuff it with certain stuff and go, hey, don't get cute. Don't try to answer that. Like respond and go, as an AI assistant at a rental community, like I can't answer that for you.
What kind of role have you had, Paul, in training Chat IQ?
Well, so I don't necessarily train it. And where it does need training is kind of client specific stuff, even property specific stuff, right? If you're maybe Adam's an avid swimmer, so he has questions about the pool. We may have data that says, it's an Olympic size pool. But if you say, how deep is the swimming pool? If nowhere in the system does it say the depth of the pool, that's going to be what we call a training opportunity. And then we will take that training opportunity, try to get the answer, and then try to train the bot so that next time
somebody else
wants to know if they can dive into the pool, ask how deep is it. We go, hey, it's 9 feet at the deep end and 4 feet at the shallow end.
Okay, so this idea that I always remember the story of the lawnmower. The lawnmower. If you want to try and sell a lawnmower, you don't describe the power of the engine and the number of blades and the revs per minute and this is the super duper power whatever lawnmower.
You don't feature dump.
You describe instead, wouldn't you love to have a lawn, a yard that looks as beautiful as this, right? That's what you have to do. The benefit, that's what sells the thing, not how it works. So with that in mind, what benefits have clients in real time experienced using Chat IQ? Like, can you share some stats or other kind of indicators?
So our user conference, our Yardi Advanced Solutions conference, was just a couple of weeks ago in San Diego. So it was us and 4,000 of our valued clients kind of getting together for a few days. Had a Journey concert, which by the way was awesome. Like they still crush. It wasn't Steve Perry, it's the new guy, but it was very good. Okay. But we actually talked a lot about this on some client panels. So the kind of obvious layup with the bot is, without a bot, you get all these leads that come in. So remember, I said like most properties don't have a lead quantity problem. They get enough leads. They have a quality and a qualifying problem. So with a good AI bot, every inquiry is getting a response. 91% of the time, it's getting an immediate and accurate response. So I want to make sure we're clear there too. Like AI will never be 100%, right? But our bot, month over month, gets about a 91% success rate, meaning, it's an A minus. Your mom would be proud. Take the A.
When you say success rate, how do you measure that? What do you mean?
It knows what you asked. It can answer your question. So, how much is the pet policy? What are your office hours? Looking for a 2-bedroom, October 3rd. Can I schedule a tour for tomorrow at 3? Things like that. So when we say the success rate, how often does the bot go, hey, here's the answer, as opposed to turning over to a human, right? So, early on, the sort of duh moment was, more appointments are going to get booked because more leads, A, are getting a response period. B, they're getting a timely response. We're all goldfish, right? Our attention span is very, very short. And, if I inquire about your business today and 3 days later I get a response, I go, Adam, you're with who? Like, sorry, like I'm unfamiliar with you because what happened 3 days ago might as well be 3 years ago. So we saw, immediate upticks in lead to appointment conversion. How many leads did we get? How many have now booked an appointment? So
really
uptick there, and that's sort of like the duh moment, right? Like that's sort of the expected thing. In multifamily, there's always been this term lead to lease and a conversion of lead to lease. How many top of funnel leads do I get? How many end up leasing? What we saw over time as we started to analyze the data, look at more clients, was this new idea of speed to lease. So, in multifamily and in commercial, vacancy is lost revenue. whether it's a commercial space or a residential space, if it's sitting empty, nobody's paying rent. Therefore, whomever owns it is not collecting revenue, right? So we've noticed the speed to lease really kind of just be truncated and shrunk, because when that lead comes in, 91% of the time, they get an immediate and an accurate response, answer to their question, and an offer to schedule a tour. And then not even just the lead to appointment, but then the appointment to tour. So how long is it between Adam going, hey, I might want to live here, I have some questions, to then actually crossing your threshold? That is shortened. How long does it take from lead to application? Adam going, hey, I'm interested, I might want to live here, to now Adam's going, here's my $100 application fee, here's my social security number, date of birth, here's where I work, here's where I currently live, providing you all of his essentials. But the most important one is lead to move in. Because, again, days equal dollars when it comes to vacancy loss, right? So the fewer days apartments sit empty, the less revenue you lose and the more revenue you collect. So we're now tracking these kind of key milestones in that what used to be called lead to lease, and I'm trying to spin it around on everybody. No, speed to lease, because the more efficient you are, the faster you are, the quicker that happens, because there's less dead air, there's less downtime, and you're staying engaged with more potential customers, because there isn't that lag of, I sent in a question and I never get a response, or it takes 3 or 4 days for me to get a response and I've already rented elsewhere. I've simply moved on,
That is absolutely fascinating. And I love hearing tangible uses of this kind of technology.
Let me see if I can remember. And if you want, I can pull it up. Well, not share with you, but let me just pull it up really quick. I want to make sure I don't misrepresent this.
Sure.
Okay. The client I interviewed had a sit down with at Yaz. So we looked at pre-launch of our bot versus post, and it was a 6 months. So 6 months before, 6 months after. And actually the 6 months after was the less advantageous seasonality wise. It contained the winter months where, typically fewer people move, you lease fewer apartments. The summers when everybody moves, get into the school district before the kids start, blah, blah, blah. So their average days between lead and appointment was down by 4.9 days, so almost 5 days. So a 5-day reduction between, hey, my name's Adam, I might want to live here.
When they move in.
Appointment, 5-day reduction.
Okay.
About the same thing for average days between lead and tour. Tour meaning I'm actually crossing the threshold, I'm seeing the product and the property now. 5.1 days between lead and application submitted. But then again, the big one is lead to move in, and that was reduced almost 25%. It was almost a full week, 6.7-day reduction in lead to actually moving in.
Wow. That's incredible.
And, with rare exception, we sort of see that across the board.
That's a 2% increase in or reduction in vacancy, right? 1 week in a year is a 2% impact. You save a week, that's 2%. That's incredible. So, okay, so I've got a few questions. So we may end up just talking about this, Paul.
Say we're still on thing one.
We're on thing one, exactly. But this is so cool because it just has immediate, tangible, demonstrably tangible benefits.
And Adam, what's so cool is you actually see it day one. You turn it on today and tomorrow you're like, well, I have more appointments booked. And it's because those 10 leads that came in yesterday all got an immediate response that was accurate. And
incredible.
The AI goes for the close, right? It answers your question, goes,
yep.
Hey, can you come out tomorrow at 9?
Shamelessly. Yes, you could. Exactly. One of the biggest, I saw something this morning, I have a LinkedIn sprint in the morning building a network. It's like my thing at the moment. And somebody commented on something about don't forget to pitch in your direct messages. That's right, DMs. This guy sells tens of thousands of whatever he sells, he's a powerhouse. Don't forget to ask in your DM. And most people do. They're afraid of sounding salesy, or they don't want to pitch, or they're uncomfortable transitioning to a pitch from a conversation. Bots have no shame. And you know what? People like that. It's I'm only here for one thing. Do I want to rent this or not? Let's just get it over with. I'll tell you if I'm not interested. So let's get straight to the point. All right, so let me ask you this. Prospects. Let's look at the other side. Prospective residents. How are you finding, or do you have any indication on how people are responding to communicating with bots versus communicating with humans? And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about the trends at the moment that people, the younger generation, yours and my generation, basically, are are more comfortable with not actually speaking to a human. So, what has been any feedback or intel that you have on how prospects are?
Well, what's interesting, Adam, is I want you to kind of think of this sort of differently because they actually typically don't know. Now, when somebody goes to the website and this little thing jumps up, hey, I can help you, everybody knows that's a bot. But when you submit an inquiry on an ILS, when you
ILS,
internet listing service, so think CoStar, Apartments.com, Zillow, when I simply find your property and fill out a contact form, if I get a response right away, like I don't know that's a virtual assistant. All I know is I got a fast response and I got the information I needed. So if I could play you some of our client testimonials, like the leasing teams, like refer to the bot by name. Yeah, it's kind of cool. I come in and like Mark's booked 3 appointments for me. And if you read some of the email threads, Adam responds and goes, hey, Mark, thanks for the reply. You're like, the consumers talk to it like it's a person because they honestly don't know. Because again, unless you're on an actual website and you're chatting with the bot, like that, everybody knows. But if you're having an email back and forth, if it's done well, if it's linguistic and conversational, you're just going, man, this business is on top of it. Same thing with the text, right? There is no indicator that what you're communicating with is not a human. But it's kind of interesting to hear our clients and their property teams not refer to it as Chat IQ, the tool, but refer to it as whatever they've named it.
by
So
the
like
name.
different clients and even different properties will give the bot a name. And they
Yeah.
refer to it like a person, and their customers refer to it like a person. And
Yes.
they'll walk in and go, hey, I was talking with Mark. I have an appointment at 3:00,
There's actually a word for that. And I'm going to try and look it up while we're talking. You probably see my screen. I have no secrets with my new setup. If I open a screen, everyone can see the reflection of it. So now I'm busy. But I'm going to look something up in a second.
And I would argue too, Adam, that
Yeah.
most people don't care. They want the answer, they want it fast.
Yeah.
And they don't care that it's coming from technology as opposed to a human. Like I don't. Like, I flew in this morning, right? I was in Philly earlier this week and then DC, and now I'm back in Raleigh. But like it didn't bother me that Delta Airlines automatically reminded me to check in for my flight. I was just happy to get the check-in reminder.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
had it been a human, guess what? I wouldn't always get the reminder. Sometimes I'd get it late, sometimes I would never get it. So I would argue if it's timely and informative, the consumer is just happy they got something.
Let's see. Right. Another question on the same topic. So what about clients? Your clients? 4,000, did you say? 4,000 showed up at this event. 400 or 4,000?
Yeah, our Yaz conference a couple weeks ago in San Diego, about 4,000 of
4,000. Right. Incredible. So what kind of well, two questions. We'd probably start with, what's my second, but the first, I'll put it first. What is the scale that a client needs to have in terms of velocity of inbound calls, inbound tenants, number of units, whatever? Like, what is the threshold that applying this makes sense? Because if you're getting one call a week for, a fourplex or whatever, once every 2 years, you might as well do it yourself. But
Well,
so what is
that's where I was going to sort of go. So we were on site a couple days ago for a net new prospective client, and they had a kind of mixed portfolio. They had some 2, 3, 400 unit buildings, and they had some 4, 10, 20 unit buildings. So it all comes down to volume. If you're getting, dozens of leads a day, whether it's a 10 unit building or a 200 unit building, you probably don't have the bandwidth to handle all that. So it's one of these, you're spending all these dollars to generate this interest and generate these leads. And, unless you're overstaffed, which most people are understaffed, forget about, being appropriately staffed, like you simply can't handle it. Again, it's most clients don't have a lead quantity problem. They have enough of those. So I don't know if you kind of held me to it and said, what would be a number? I would say, I don't know, maybe a 75 unit and above community.
Really? So that's all it takes. Okay. So 75 units and above. Of those 4,000, we don't need to go into all the numbers. I imagine a very large proportion fit into that bucket. A large proportion.
Of the 75 and
Of the
up?
4,000 people that showed up, right? 75.
What bucket? Are you talking the smaller
75, above 75.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what has been the challenge that you've had to like sell this? I mean, to me, it seems like a no-brainer. Do you have to, like, how do you do it? You show, well, this is what you're going to save. This is what, like, how do you do it? And what has been the pushback? And by the way, before you answer that question, the word I was thinking of, and I did just check with ChatGPT while we were talking, because I've forgotten it. I knew there was a word. Anthropomorphism is the idea that you apply human terms, or you describe in human terms an animal. Anthropomorphism. You never heard that word? Anthropomorphism is where you apply human qualities to an animal, right, in those terms. But it says in the case of AI, you might use the term personification. You might personify the technology, but anthropomorphism is another word. Anyway, sorry. Back to my question. The challenges you've had.
The shift has happened. Like, most clients know that they don't respond promptly to their leads. Most clients know that they're understaffed, short-staffed, and they can't handle the inbound. And there used to be this sort of, oh, we're a people-first business, and our people make the difference, and we want
right.
We want this human touch thing. And the idea of that is great. And you might have one person or one property that can do that well, but it's not the entirety of your leasing team. It's not the entirety of your portfolio. So most clients know they have a problem and have sort of come around to technology can help us, and it creates a better customer experience. And Adam, if they're a client of ours already, we can sort of show them, hey, your current response rate for leads is kind of poor. And any executive or operations leader who's called the properties knows that it's a 50-50 coin flip at best that the call is going to get picked up. They know it.
That's amazing.
So typically they know they have a problem, and it's just a matter of, are we the right tool? Does our bot meet their needs? Yeah.
It's interesting because it just, I mean, it sounds like me especially today, for a multifamily sponsor, to be like picking up money in the street. I mean, I don't know how much your product costs, but compared to presumably, I mean, how much is, if you save 1 week, right, of rent? I mean, that's I don't know.
Done ROI analysis, and it's facts, not feelings. Like, it is undeniable that there is a return. And Adam, maybe to kind of articulate and better answer your question. So when we show somebody how ChatIQ works, we go onto a website and we fill out a form. First name Paul, last name Yount. Here's my move-in date. I want a 2-bedroom, and here's the questions I have. And before I hit send, I'll ask them. I'll say, hey, tell me what happens with this today. If I were to hit send on this today at your properties, what happens with this? And they would go, well, it comes to some inbox or some queue, and our agents pick it up. And I go, do they? I go, you hope they do, right? You cross your fingers and hope somebody's glued to that computer, sees the lead come in, consumes it, and then can intelligently respond. And I don't mean intelligent, but there's work to do. So if Adam wants a 2-bedroom for October 1st, somebody has to go to the pricing and go, do we have a 2-bedroom for October 1st? How much does it cost? Craft a paragraph. And Adam also asked about parking or the pet policy. So they have to craft a compelling message. So not only do they have to be there, be ready, see it, but they have to then act on it. And there's a fair amount of work to actually compose the reply. So we kind of have that conversation, and then I go, okay, now I'm going to hit send and let's see what happens. And in a couple minutes, I get a very compelling response that gives me the detailed pricing availability, that answers the questions, and then goes, hey, can you come out tomorrow at one of these 3 times?
A call to action.
Yeah. And the reality is too, Adam, leasing teams, there's not a ton of value in hammering on the keyboard and responding to leads, right? Like nobody responds to an email lead and answers a pet policy question and goes like, "Oh, I nailed that. That felt good."
That's right.
You know? But it does feel
That's
good
right.
when Adam shows up for a tour and I build a human connection with Adam.
That's a
and
bit different, right?
new, that feels good. That creates value in what I do. That's rewarding.
Mm.
So the more we can deliver that and reduce the mundane and the redundant and the head down data entry, when you hire a leasing agent, you hire them because they're a good people person, not because they type 70 words a minute and love being head down at the keyboard, right?
Is there a resistance to adopting tech or a distrust of technology, do you think?
I would there's an awareness of it, and I think folks who haven't tinkered with it, who aren't familiar, and there's this sort of, oh, AI is going to take over our jobs. No, AI is going to help you. It's here to assist you. Like, think of it as your little right sidecar with you, and it's doing the things that you don't want to do, so you can do the things that you want to do and that only you can do better and more often and smoother. Like, your job is to nail the tour. Your job isn't to be banging on emails and text messages, and then Adam walks in and you're not prepared.
Do you have any? So I'm going to ask one last question. We're running to the end of time, but
how did we do this already?
I know.
Topics out.
It's because I'm obsessed with this topic. I think it's absolutely industry changing.
So when you're done with yours, can we do 5 minutes on kind of two of the other ones? I kind of want to really.
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. Sorry about that. Yeah.
And that the audience will.
Well, fine. So let's just jump to that. I mean, I could talk about these bots all day. I mean, I've just got 100 questions running through my mind because we raise capital for sponsors. So how do we integrate that for our client? How do we integrate similar things for clients? We've had clients that we've generated so many leads for, accredited investor leads, that they have been unable to handle the inflow. And so what we've done is to build systems that make it easier for fewer people to manually deal with that. But we've never integrated
that we're doing, right?
AI.
Do more things, yeah.
All right, so the other two things that you want, fire away.
So maintenance. So leasing is great, and getting more people, responses to their inquiries and, ready to tour and ready to apply, ready to move in. But, maintenance is a big part of our business too. And it's sort of this, I don't want to say forgotten, but we focus so much on the leasing and the marketing and the sort of getting them in the front door, and we tend to not focus as much historically on maintenance. So when it comes to maintenance, our AI can actually now help prevent work orders from even happening. So what do I mean by that? Well, when Adam goes online and says, "Hey, I have an issue," historically, you'd fill out a form and you'd go priority equals category, subcategory, here's my issue. Well, now what we're doing is saying, "Hey, just Adam, what's the problem?" And you would type in, power's out in the bathroom.
Okay.
And instead of submitting a work order, the AI reads that and go, do I know what the potential problem is? And do I know what some potential solutions are? So it'll come back and go, "Hey, Adam, I think the breaker may have tripped. Do you mind going to the breaker panel and seeing if one has been flipped? And if so, click it back over." And we're seeing, 5, 10, 12% of work orders just never actually happen because the technology goes, "Hey, Adam, would you mind trying this first?" And, we're only doing it when it's a softball, right? When it's a layup. We're not asking them to, go get a new air conditioner unit and install it, right?
Install a new breaker.
Right. So the data shows that there's about 17% of work orders that get submitted that we think, with low skill and little or no tools, the resident may be able to not self-diagnose, but DIY the fix.
Can you put actual numbers on that again, Paul? You can say this is how much this building saved.
I don't think there's enough to be statistically viable yet. It's a newer piece for us, but it is live, it is real. But from the data we've looked at, we think about 17% of work orders we could serve up and go, "Hey, would you mind trying this first?"
And that's without any human interaction, right?
Right. Yeah, if I'm a resident and I text the property and I go, "Hey, the dryer's taking too long to dry clothes." Instead of submitting a work order, it goes, "Hey, have you tried the lint trap? Can you try a smaller load?" It's going to assess the message. Are there solutions that are easy? If so, ask the resident if they wouldn't mind trying that first. Now, they don't have to. They can say, "No kick rocks. That's why I pay you $2,500 a month. So that's thing one. Thing two with maintenance is if it is a more complex work order that requires a certain level of skill, certain tools, so then it does go to the maintenance team. But can we tell the maintenance team, hey, based on the work order, here's what we think the issue is, here's the tools you may need, and here's, check 1, 2, 3 first. So we can sort of do that, right? We can provide causes and solutions to the tech. Now, another element is, let's say the tech goes there, identifies the issue, and they need a part. And they don't know the part number, they don't look it up. They can just take their phone and take a picture of the smoke detector, the ice maker, whatever, and then it'll just add it to their cart in their online marketplace. And then the last piece of maintenance would actually be closing the whole loop.
So sorry. So in that case, then the AI would identify what the part is and place the order?
And they're approved. So I take a picture of the smoke detector. Our system knows the approved smoke detectors for that company, for that property, puts it in the cart, and then whoever has final approval or who needs to hit the checkout button just does that. So they don't need to look up smoke detector. They don't have to know the part number, know the brand and model, right? So it's image recognition on the picture.
Phenomenal.
And closing the loop on that would be, okay, work order's done. Maintenance typically aren't, I don't want to say great communicators, but they're not warm and fuzzy communicators, let's say. So once the work order's done, the system knows what was done and create a summary and send it to the resident. Hey, Adam, we were in your apartment today. We fixed it. Here's what happened. So, we know what the issue was. We know what was done to address it. So then we can create a nice, compelling summary back to the customer, the resident, of what actually happened and not rely on the maintenance team to thumb that in, The last thing I wanted to mention was what we're calling Virtuoso Assistant. So Virtuoso really is kind of our AI suite, right? It's the wrapper we're putting around all of our AI tools. But Virtuoso Assistant isn't our client's customer-facing bot like we've been talking about for the first half hour or so. Virtuoso Assistant is for our client users. So, historically, if Adam needed data out of the system, you would need to know the report path. It's this report with these filters and parameters. And, to be honest, a lot of the key executives, they don't spend a ton of time in our system, right? They're not logged in all the time, right? But they still want and need the data. So now with Virtuoso Assistant, you can just talk or type and say, give me a rent roll from last month and compare it to the month prior, and then, drop that into a spreadsheet for me. So a good example of this, what we can do with the large language model. So I showed this at NAA Apartmentalize. So with the LLM, it's really not that whiz bang of a moment for me to go and type in and say, how many Teslas do we have at the property? Because really all that's doing is going to the resident tables, looking up vehicle, and how many times does it equal Tesla? So then it comes back and it goes, whatever, you got 50 Teslas at City View Towers. But then I can say, what does it cost to install a Tesla charging station? And that's where the LLM comes in and goes, those are about 10 grand a pop, or whatever the math is, right? So I know how many residents I have that have a Tesla. I now know what it costs to install a Tesla, and I'm doing this all in one thread with the bot. And then maybe I say, what could I get? What would be an average rent I could get for a charging station? And then it's going to come back and tell me, in an urban market, maybe $100 a month, in a more suburban rural market, maybe $50 a month. So then I can tell it to run an assumption for me. Hey, if I wanted to install 70 of these charging stations, what would that cost? And what's my payback period? And it'll run the assumption for me. And then I can say, email that to my boss, Adam, and ask him, and, include the above, and make a strong case that we should include this in the budget for 2025. And it'll craft an email with all of the data going, we currently have 50 residents with Teslas. If we installed 65, it would cost us this much. We get this much additional revenue, and it would take us this long to earn that money back and then start, making money on it. So it can leverage the data in the system, but also, external sources to really help make good business decisions.
Right. Are there any other kind of high level uses that you'd like to touch on today?
Yeah, real quick, because Adam, you're a marketer and you talked about writing content. So
Yeah.
you'll appreciate this one. I mean, everybody knows content is king, right? That
Mhm.
has been true for a long time. That's kind of how you rank high and how you sort of consistently refresh and make sure you're relevant and coming up. But also, content is king, yes, but it can cost a king's ransom to like execute on, right? Like it is your 2 million words you typed took you a long time.
And cost me a fortune, by the way, over the years.
King's
Yes.
ransom. See what I did there? Content
Yeah.
is king, king's ransom.
Yeah.
So now with our marketing tools, our marketing IQ, you can leverage AI to help you create the content, the romance copy on the property's marketing site, blog posts, Google My Business profile posts. So you can leverage AI within our tools to create that content for you. So big time saver for marketing departments, especially if they run lean. Because again, like as you know, it takes a long time to create compelling content. But if you can have AI help you, you put in some prompts of what a few sentences of how long you want it to be and how you want it to sound and in what tone and type of content you want. And in a matter of a couple minutes, you can have, your blog post for the month already mapped out.
It's really, I have to tell you that just talking to you, Paul, makes me wonder. I hear people say you won't be replaced by AI, but you'll be replaced by somebody using AI. To the extent that Yardi's suite, and we've just scratched the surface. I know there's a lot more. I've got a list here. I don't know how many. Well, you gave me 8. I think I had some others over here that I was going to ask about. They really are the differentiator. One wonders if buying a property that is well managed currently, right, but by implementing your tools, by implementing AI-driven tools, you couldn't actually squeeze out materially more revenue and reduce costs materially that made it worth buying a property at market that actually is value add. And that value add is
You're not
implementing.
buying a distressed asset and saying we can just operate this better, smoother. You're buying a already well-performing asset,
Yeah.
but going to leverage technology to even tighten the screws a little
In
more.
other words, picking a benchmark, forget about all the variants that there are, but picking a property that's currently being used that is not using Yardi's AI tools and applying them, how much would that increase NOI just by doing that? In other words, the value add is not putting carpets and wet paint and carpet.
Countertops and cabinets and
No, it's actually managing better.
right.
And in fact, our mutual client there, right? And I'm going to mention his name, Evan Cohen at Cause. That is his secret sauce, is using Yardi and implementing
Thank you, Evan. Thank you, Coors. Take your business, sir.
Yeah, it's not trivial, actually. I
Well,
think.
and if I go back to the examples and the clients we've talked about and the data we've analyzed, like we can back into the ROI. We know what the average rent is, we know how many units turn,
Yeah.
and we know that time shrinkage of days from lead to move in. So we can actually quantify in real dollars, not a guess, but we know in the last 12 months, X amount of units have turned over, meaning somebody moved out and somebody new moved in. Like there was a vacancy.
So
average rent is, so we know what that breaks down to per day, and then we know what the shrinkage was on the days from lead to move in. So you take that number times the number of vacants times the number of days, and there's your math.
Yeah, so that I would like to actually see. So let's talk about that separately. I have clients that I know don't use Yardi, but can't imagine why.
Talk to him, Adam. Let's talk to him. Give me an
Yes, yes. I really am interested. There's a lot of things going on in my world that make this particularly relevant. Let me wrap up with 3 rapid fire questions.
Oh boy.
And then I've got all of my, kind of other things I want to talk to you about briefly after we sign off. Okay. Simple question. Why should I ask this of all my guests? Why should real estate professionals be paying attention to AI today?
Because if you're not, you're already behind. You're already getting beat. If you're not, forget considering it. If your toe's not in the water yet, like you're about to get lapped by the competition. Like It's no longer a nice to have. It is a must have. Like you are not leasing your apartments efficiently as the guy next door, the gal across the street, if you're not leveraging it today.
Paul, how do you use AI every day? Like what is your most common tool and how do you use it? Yeah.
So, I'm in my early 40s and I was a bit reluctant at first, like most, but I find that it most useful to me like when I get stuck. So I get stuck on, hey, I'm trying to come up with a compelling tagline, Copilot, give me options that sound like this. Or, hey, I'm trying to write a title for a slide that is meant to evoke this emotion and has this type of visual, or even like rebuttals. If I'm struggling to respond to a prospect or client on, what their concern is, what their holdback is, and I can't quite get it out of my mouth, I'll go ask the AI, hey, help me write a compelling rebuttal to this question for somebody who's, on the fence about potentially purchasing this type of software. So I use it to get me unstuck.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I actually struggle with less and less so nowadays, but struggle with challenges. Like I might have a conflict, and it's kind of wacky stuff. A conflict between something, so I can tell one piece of software on my computer's conflicting with another and causing it to crash. I start troubleshooting. I go through the whole, and then I suddenly wait a minute. Let me just see. I'm going to ask ChatGPT, and boom, yeah, do this. Here's the code. Just
I think
an
too, Adam,
instant solve.
Google, their SERP, their search engine results page, has now changed. So, like in the main Google, when Google search, like you're getting that Gemini AI response
Yep,
at the top. So
absolutely.
it's not coming, guys. It's here.
Yes.
This is evergreen. Get used to it and
Yeah.
embrace it.
Oh, God, I love that you said that. Last question then. So, for somebody who hasn't used it yet, right? And everyone starts somewhere. Somebody who's not used AI, this show is the easy win show, right? So the idea is we provide listeners and viewers with something that they can just try this specific thing, super easy, and see how amazing the results are. It'll change your whole view of how to use AI in real estate. Can you think of an easy win that someone could just try and just like blow their socks off and okay, I get it now type of eureka moment?
One, I'd go back to my unstuck thing. If you're really struggling and spending too much time trying to figure something out, don't be stubborn. Go ask Copilot or ChatGPT or Gemini. Go ask it for help and see if it doesn't unstick you, it'll get your brain thinking differently and get you out of the rut. But also, if you're not using a leasing bot today and you manage properties or have properties, go contact one of your properties, whether it's during business hours or after. See how long it takes you to get a response. See how well that response is or isn't written and how compelling it is to a potential customer. And then, find a nearby competitor who is using one and like just do a side by side. It's kind of eye-opening to see, Sunday at 9 o'clock at night getting a response versus not getting a response till forget Monday, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. It's shocking when you put yourself in the shoe of the customer and go, which was better?
Paul, actually, so I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to tell you a funny little story that you reminded me of. So I think you'll enjoy it. Have you got a couple of minutes?
Yeah, let me tell my next meeting just started, but it's internal, so I'll just tell them.
Give me 10 minutes, will you?
I'll give them the BRT. They'll be right there. I'm a sucker for a good TLA, Adam, a 3-letter acronym.
Okay.
BRT.
All right, thanks. While you're doing that, I'm gonna tell you this anecdote or this story. It's
okay,
very.
I'm done. Sorry, I'm back.
So a friend of mine, his two brothers own some of the top hotels in LA, like the best known top hotels. And he used to like to. This is your kind of what do you call it, mystery shopper thing. He used to like to go in, one of the brothers used to like to go, I won't use their name, it would be indiscreet, but he used to like to go into the front desk. He wanted to see how they would respond when he said, excuse me, can you tell me where the bathroom is? Do they say, yeah, it's down the hall on the left? Do they take you there? Right? So he'd do this and he'd go in occasionally. He'd just like make sure that, how are they doing? One day his brother went in and said to somebody behind the desk he said, oh, it's nice to see you. He said, how's your brother doing? He said, he's fine. Why? He said, because every time he never remembers where the bathroom is. We're a bit worried about it.
It's like Dory from Finding Nemo. He forgets everything.
I can never remember where the bathroom was. Poor old fella.
They were onto him, huh? They were onto him.
Paul Yount, Yardi. Paul Yount, sorry, Yardi. Industry principal, right? Residential at Yardi. It's been an enormous pleasure getting to know you. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
No, thanks for the offer and the invite. It was fun to chat with you, Adam, and it sounds like we may do it again.
I would love to do that. I've got an idea. I'll share that with you right now.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Be good, Adam.
All right. That was Paul Yount at Yardi. Mind-blowing, right? Isn't that incredible what they can do? I'm serious. You start implementing tools like this, they are significant competitive advantages. You can add value in a way that you have never been able to do before to multifamily deals. It is game-changing. I hate to use that term. It is. This is a new epoch that we're in. Paul, thank you so much for joining us. I had a lot of fun scheduling with you, seriously. And I really enjoyed talking to you and to learning more about what you guys are doing. And I look forward to the opportunity of working with you a little bit more in the future. And dear viewers, thank you too for joining today. Wasn't that mind-blowing? It's really incredible. That's all I've got. By the way, one last thought, of course, I've got to have one final CTA. If you've not signed up for the EasyWin.ai newsletter, go to EasyWin.ai and sign up now. You can always unsubscribe. It's totally free. You get all kinds of how-tos and other really useful information, updates on the industry, what's going on, trainings, a bunch of stuff. So all that, EasyWin.ai. Thank you again for joining me. Until next time, this is The Real Adam Gower signing off.